All right, this is Market Pulse. We didn't go anywhere. Let's pick up the pulse of the day with Muktar Mohammed, the CEO of Asia Investments Limited. Thank you for obliging us, Mr. Muktar.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Let's begin, right? Nigeria's first, it's the first time we're issuing the dollar-denominated bonds in the domestic market today. Results are yet to be released, but, we have key voices in industry who are citing that, the 5-year tenor of the $500 million bond issue seems ambitious, and that perhaps a 2-year short-term tenor would have been better and less costly, as we, saw Ghana do, not so long ago. Do you agree with that?
No, I think I'm different in this time. I must commend the government. For the first time, we are trying to do something different, and we're trying to bring a product to fight against the downtrend of the Naira. We are not just using administrative purposes, intervention. We are looking at long-term strategy to solve our problem. Remember, if you say in 2 years, and that means in 2 years' time, you are beginning to look at whether you have enough dollar liquidity to leave the system. And when those liquidity are leaving the system, they don't have systematic impact, especially on the Naira exchange rate. So looking at the 5 years plan, I think they are looking at a lot of things. In 5 years from now, we believe that our oil production would have gone up. 5 years from now, we think we would have stabilized our currency very well. 5 years from now, a lot of things would have changed. We will not have the kind of volatility that we are having now. So I think for me, a 5 years plan, knowing that they will do the payment in 3 months or so. So I think this is the first time we are trying to address a situation. Personally, think that we are looking at a long-time answer to a problem that we have been using short-time measures. So 2 years can just come in and go, and you are still struggling with your economy, trying to get more liquidity in the system. But with 5 years' time from now, you realize that you would have addressed that problem, and at the end, it will be easy if anyone wants to exit or want to extend. You can even decide to say, okay, we want to run another 100 billion, maybe you're doing 500 million, and maybe we'll be doing 1 billion domestic bond at that time. So it all depends on what this result is. 5 years, I think, is very good.
All right, based on several assumptions, and hopefully we'll see what happens within the next 5 years, whether the strategy meets up with those assumptions as well. But yes, some are lauding this effort, right, because it's going to boost dollar liquidity. But we're not putting there are thoughts that it's going to put further pressure on the Naira, and it's going to set up. We're setting ourselves up for some sort of market fragmentation. What are your concerns as well with this?
See, in the short term, it looks like that, but in the long term, it's going to ease the burden of the Naira. And that's what I'm talking about. We're looking at first payment in 3 months' time. So at that time, we expect there should be an improvement. We're already seeing an improvement in terms of liquidity, stocks, auction sell, crude oil output has gone up. So reserve is a little bit buoyant. So you won't be seeing those huge liquidity leave the system, like 1 billion. We'll be seeing a little of that again. So for me, I don't think there's any cause to worry when you are looking at that person. And that's why I said I'm excited that we are looking at a 5-year tenure instead of a 2 years tenure. Because if you say of 2 years tenure, that's when you exert more pressure on the Naira in the short and in the long term. But for a 5 years tenure, that gives the Naira a lot of time to have a lot of recovery that we expect. Like all of us agreed, the Naira could be selling not at its real value, but in 5 years' time, we could have a Naira that has really stabilized, and then there's enough liquidity in the system, because at that time, the CBN would have been able to bring transparency in the FX market. So I share that 5 years is good. It will not put so much pressure on the Naira in the long term, because, like I said, all we have been trying to deal with now is bringing a short-term solution to a long-term problem.
All right, so there's a lot of foresight going into this. Again, we have to see that they meet up with those assumptions when it comes to performance. CBN and the federal government, the fiscal side of things, meeting up with those assumptions. But let's focus on what happened in the markets today. We saw what happened with Dangote Cement taking yet another hit. Looking at what happened last month in August, they lost 1.2 trillion naira when it comes to their market capitalization. Do you see something happening this month as well? And what are your overall thoughts and sentiments around this stock and its performance on the NGX?
Number one, you should look at Dangote stocks that when 10% goes down, that means the net worth of Dangote has gone down almost 10%, because he seems to be the highest shareholder of the stock. We've not seen any relative numbers coming in for us to be afraid that Dangote, maybe the result might be negative. But again, when you look at exchange rate volatility, you look at losses that are being incurred by some other Dangote company, I think it might be spilling over to Dangote Cement. And so a lot of investors are beginning to be cautious in that share, those that are there. And again, we also need to look at the breadth of the market at this moment. Is not positive towards consumer good, but cement should be positive because of the lot of infrastructural projects that the government is about to embark upon. But then I think it's just a short-term issue, fear coming in, especially you've seen that stock rally for a long while, stable at this particular price. So it's not uncommon when you see some of these things happen, especially for a stock that has maintained relatively stability for a very long time. And sometimes it could also news filter in later. Maybe you have some institutional investors trying to buy into the stocks.
All right, we'll see whether or not it picks up. And as you have rightly pointed out, perhaps sentiments from other subsidiaries are influencing sentiments with Dangote Cement. Let's come to Total Energies now. They saw a strong valuation surge in equities market. Investors rallied on the oil stock last week, and that rally is spilling over into the week. 20% growth week on week as of last week. What would you say are driving the moves to buy this company's shares?
Well, for now, I think we are not seeing any basic move that is driving these shares for now. But I think it's what about the sector that you are in when there's activity on the particular stocks and a lot of investors cannot go into that stock any longer. Some investors begin to price the next available stocks and beginning to tip that stock to also go a bit further because a lot of investors cannot get the former one. So what I'm trying to say is that if you look at that sector now, there are three movers in the oil and gas sector in the exchange. You are looking at Seplat, you look at Total Energy, and you are looking at Oando. Now, if you look at the price of Seplat, almost 4,000, you look at Total Energy, that's almost, it's about 200 and something naira. Then you're 275 naira, then you go to Oando at 40 naira. So investors are doing what we call comparable analysis. And then if you look at the dividend payment of Seplat at 4,000 compared with the dividend payment of Total Energy, and then of course Oando has not paid any dividend, and so investors are just looking at price in terms of price movement based on the investment that have been invested by Oando buying up some of any oil. So people are beginning to look at that side and say, okay, he has to post a reserve because that has also brought them into the same league like Seplat. But if you look at Total Energy, it's just the marketing arm of that company that is listed in the exchange. Ordinarily, you should see a slow effect, like your report said. CBN, the federal government is saying that there's a source of payment of dividend, and we know that for a long time, those that import petroleum products are NNPC, and there's a fixed price. So that is supposed to have a negative effect on Total Energy. But what is driving it is strong sentiment where most investors that are looking at purchasing Seplat are not able to subsidize. So the next available one that they think will have a little bit of influence in terms of price movement is Total Energy. So that's why you are seeing what you're seeing.
No one likes to be second best, but unfortunately that's the situation here. But thank you so much for joining me today, Muktar Mohammed, the CEO of Asha Investment Limited. Always a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right.